Are we?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're ready to start our executive board meeting. Call the roll, please.
Rebecca, you want me to do it or you? Okay. Chair Ordus,
There.
Vice Chair Good,
Here.
Deputy Vice Chair Johnson, absent. Broward County Representative Beamfur, absent. Small Municipalities Representative Ziadi. Sorry. At-large Representative Colburn. At-large Representative Lynn Stoner, absent at this time. We have a quorum.
All right, let's go right to it. Call to the order and pledge of allegiance.
I don't know if we have,
Vice Chair Good.
we don't do the pledge in this one, but we can if you want.
What?
Will. I
Okay.
pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Very well done.
We'll add that to the agenda for next time, so that we'll do it forever.
All right, electronic roll call. Do we need that?
We just did the,
Okay. Approval of the minutes. You have a motion?
move.
Moved by Vice Chair Good, second by Mayor Ziadi. Discussion?
all those in favor?
Wait a minute, I'm not there yet.
Thank you.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
All right, approved.
Oh, thank you. All right, we are number 4, approval of the agenda. Moved by Mayor Ziadi, second by Vice Chair Good. Discussion? Any comments? Hearing none, call a roll. Or aye? Opposed? We have it. Public comments.
Is there any members of the public that wish to address the executive committee?
Okay, we took care of that. Good.
Excellent.
Seeing none.
They're all asleep in their homes.
All in traffic.
Exactly.
How about the,
Oh, is there anyone on the Zoom that would wish to speak?
anybody on the Zoom?
No.
Seeing no one.
Okay. How about approval of excused absences?
There actually are no excused absences today. I do believe Commissioner Furr was going to be joining us on Zoom if he can. And Mayor Stoner is going to be here shortly. She was doing a swearing in for police department.
Okay.
Oh, and Representative Johnson, or is it president? Didn't she council president again? March. She is on a cruise, and so she's kind of excused, but she's going to try, and this is a love, God bless her. No excuse. I know. She is actually going to try to zoom in from the cruise ship, but yeah, I know. Well, I just want to see the cruise ship. Okay, then there you go.
Consent items?
Discussion items.
All right, so the very first item is the federal and state legislative update with Holland and Knight and Trip Scott. Eric? Paul, are we up? Can we pull the Holland and Knight folks in?
We're here.
I just want to let everybody know it's really exciting times up in Washington.
Oh,
Accident?
no.
Accident.
All right. With that, we're going to turn it over to Lori and Lisa. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
There they are.
Oh, dear. I know.
Hi.
Oh, dear. Thank you.
We don't hear you yet.
Oh,
Lisa, you want to start with the
Sure.
congressional?
So I'll go ahead and provide an update from what is happening with Congress and Lori. Then I'll turn it over to Lori to talk about what the administration's been doing in terms of implementing the bipartisan infrastructure law. So first up, with regards to appropriations, we had a continuing resolution that is set to expire on February 18th. The good news is that the leaders of the appropriations for both the House and the Senate side have finally reached a deal this week. They announced on a close to a $1.5 trillion framework for an omnibus appropriations bill. So that is a great first step in getting that omnibus bill ready. Of course, it's not going to be ready in time before February 18th, particularly because the House will be back in its district offices next week. So in light of that, the House passed on Tuesday and another CR, so it will take us through March 11th, And we even had over 50 House Republicans support the CR extension through March 11th. We have a little hiccup right now in the Senate in passing that CR extension. Senator Blackburn from Tennessee has placed a hold on the CR until the CR extension until they can work out a little issue with regards to a report this week that came out that federal funds have been spent on drug paraphernalia. So Senator Schumer is working on that. They're trying to correct the reports on this in order for Senator Blackburn to feel comfortable. So next steps on this, just want to let everybody know that we're expecting earmarks to be in a final omnibus package, and then you will see the appropriations process quickly turn around for requests to be submitted again. So we will start to learn from our delegation what their deadlines and request process will be mid-March, end of March, and then we'll get things submitted probably by April. So just kind of wanted to give you that update. The other pieces of legislation Congress are working on right now is a couple of bills to ban trading stocks for members of Congress, as well as some postal reform bills. Lori.
Hi, good morning, everyone. At the same time, DOT is beginning to implement the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The RAISE NOFO, Notice of Funding Opportunity, came out 2 weeks ago. We have shared it with Greg and his team. The deadline is April 14th. A few other NOFOs are expected to be released soon. The low-no buses and bus facilities are expected to be released end of February, early March, as well as the infra program. And this is a program for freight and goods movement. Now that the appropriation bills has passed, DOT will be able to implement the brand new programs that were created, such as Safe Streets for All, the Vision Zero program. Broward worked really hard to include. Any questions?
Great report. Thank you so much.
Keep warm and let us know what's happening. Just on an offside, and I wanted to bring this up with the executive committee to let you know on the funding side from the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We've been working with the Florida, and this is ironic, we've been working with the Florida Department of Transportation to get the legacy program funding through the CR process into funding pots. So you're going to be seeing some things that we're doing with staff to move funding around while we wait to actually get the money from Federal Highway Administration into the state of Florida. We've let USDOT staff aware of that, as well as our congressional delegation, that they have not been releasing our STPG funds based on the BIF or IIJA, whatever you want to call it. And so I just let you all know that that's going on at the same time. So,
Jill, questions? Action items, number 1.
thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
Thank you.
And we have Trip Scott Eriks, and I believe you want to go ahead and start.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hello from Tallahassee. We are in the middle of the legislative session. The budgets were just released or unveiled for the first time last week. Both of them fully fund the work program, and they're voting on the budgets this week so they can get those set up for conference. But while both of those fully fund the work program, a couple of interesting things. The House has released 2 interesting conforming bills. One of them is a $2 billion pot for the governor to use for any type of unforeseen rise in costs, such as inflation on major construction projects. And it's called budgeting for inflation that drives elevated needs. So it spells out the name Biden. They're trying to tie the president with rising inflation, but it's an interesting $2 billion pot that the House has set aside. At the same time, they've also released a conforming bill that would inventory all of the state's risks and provide a sort of statewide risk assessment for various risks to infrastructure and bond ratings, et cetera. insurance. So that's going to be an interesting bill to watch as well. Neither budget contains the $1 billion gas tax cut that the governor had called for prior to the legislative session beginning. And I don't know if that $2 billion inflation pot is kind of what the House is envisioning for that. But it's also interesting to note that neither budget contained that $1 billion in the gas tax cut. So moving on from the budget, in terms of bills, transportation has been a little bit quiet this year, which isn't always a bad thing. There is one bill that has a 25% cap on funding for certain public transit projects in the Transportation Trust Fund. But our understanding is that FDOT is actually now mobilizing to help oppose that cap. Beforehand, they were sort of neutral on it because it maintained the minimum 15%, and they found that we never really got above 20%. But the idea is that it doesn't give us flexibility at the end of the day. And these types of public transit projects range from normal transit to airport projects, seaport projects, et cetera. So that bill hopefully will be changing soon. But that's a recent development in that bill. There's also another sea level rise bill, and it's sort of been called a glitch bill, building on last year's success. And part of that bill, or a big portion of it, is actually directing FDOT to come up with a statewide resilience plan for the state highway system. And part of that is also working with local governments as well. The second part, there's also another slip study bill. And for those of you not familiar, what the slip study bill did a couple of years ago is construction in a coastal zone would require a sea level impact projection study prior to commencing construction. What this would do is expand that slip study requirement to areas that are prone to inland flooding as well. So we're monitoring that really closely. And then just a couple of things. There was a pretty bad TNC bill that was out there that was really concerning for our airport and seaport, but we believe that bill is now dead. We worked really closely with Vice Chair Chip LaMarca and Chair Harrell over in the Senate to express our concerns, but it would have severely hampered our seaport and airport ability to deal with TNCs and to manage TNCs. And there's also another bill that's only partially related that is still a concern, and it's a preemption on wage mandates, which is related to transportation only in the fact that Broward County has a living wage mandate for its airport and seaport workers. Palm Beach County, for example, has it for their transportation disadvantaged workers and also for construction projects. And what it does is it guarantees an adequate workforce. So that's a bill that we're just monitoring as well. And then we're closely working with FDOT and paying close attention to what plans that they develop for the IIJA funding. And it's our understanding, I know Greg had just mentioned that they're still working on that funding mechanism to get the money over. So we have not received any dollars or guidance or instruction on how to use the funding. And FDOT is waiting for that to happen before they really start diving into what they plan to do. We know that they are anticipating not getting it for quite a while. At least a year is what I've heard, but that could change. But that was what I was most recently told. And so we're just waiting to see kind of what happens with that, but we're closely following there as well. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you very much for a great report. Time to pass the bills. Comments from the chair, just thank you all for being here. Don't go to Tallahassee or Washington, it's very cold.
Lauren's like, yeah, it's very, very cold.
Great.
Actually, before we leave this, the federal and state legislative items, I just want to build on what was said about the federal funds and the additional money coming over. We did, while I was in Orlando 2 weeks ago, we worked with the State Department of Transportation to show an increase to our planning level funds to match the federal. So that we'll be seeing in the budget, which we're going to be presenting a draft version of it in the administrative items next month. along with some of the other items. So I'll talk a little bit about that when we go on. Discussion number 2, Mr. Chair, is discussion items for the February 10th, which is today, MPO board meeting. And I don't want to jinx this. There's only 2 real items. I know, don't say it. So without saying it, we have a consent item, which is just the LCB appointments. And then the action item, and Carrie McNeil is going to present this to us, is the CSLIP prioritization list that we're going to be sending over to FDOT to vet the projects further for federal funding. And so unless you have any questions on the February 10th, today's agenda, I can move on to the March 10th agenda, just discuss it with you briefly.
Let me just ask if there's any member comments. Hearing none. Go ahead, Mr.
For the record, I also want to recognize Mayor Stoner has made it into the room. Okay.
Mayor Stoner.
So basically, I want to give a quick brief update on the March 10th. We're going to have, it's going to be funding palooza. We're going to be talking about money and where things are going, and not only projects, we're going to be looking at priority projects. We're going to be looking at tip amendments and all that to deal with the funding issues that Lauren mentioned as well, because we all anticipated additional funding with the federal pots. That's going to be probably fiscal year 23-24 before it actually starts moving through FDOT, given the current situation. So you're going to see some trade-off mechanisms in our tip amendments that we're working with FDOT to make the district here to make sure that happens. Actually, thank you, Rebecca. Let me switch this over. Or is that Carl that's doing that? So basically you have the tip amendment here, which is item number 2. And that is going to be a bunch of different movements around. You can see the rolling stock and bus shelters and Sunrise, various locations, as well as our UPWP, which is our Unified Planning Work Program. That's the administrative budget for the MPO. And as you move down, there is some other things that we're looking at doing on Pembroke Pines and Southwest, the Focus Center, Mayor, in your community as well. So there's some things that we'll be looking at with that. So expect that for the next month. Nick, further down, please. We have an agreement between ourselves and a consultant who has yet to be selected. They're going through the process now for our strategic business plans. That's a 3-year contract with 2 1-year extensions. That particular contract expired this past year. We're moving forward with a task work order number 2 for the strategic plan as well. So that way it ties together with the selection of the consultant and the first task work order, which will spread over the this next budget year. We have motion to approve submittal of the fiscal year Unified Planning Work Program. That you'll be able to see what we're doing as far as moving planning efforts forward. Our planning emphasis areas that came from the federal government have expanded. Therefore, we're going to be actually requiring additional funds to be brought into the UPWP to actually meet those requirements. And as I was saying earlier, it's that balancing act between knowing new money's coming and not having it yet. Then you have motion to accept the audit report. And so that will be the action items. Can you go back up to the number 1, please? Thank you. And this is probably utmost importance, and Peter Gies would hit me over the head if I didn't say it. This is the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan amendments. So we only do amendments once a year, and these are going to be amendments to the longer range funding plan that we have, and Peter will go through a lot of detail. So next month is, like I said, going to be funding palooza. You're going to be talking about money all different ways and different projects. So just that should be a longer meeting. I guess I'm giving the heads up. Do you have any questions or items you'd like to see?
No, just, I was gonna say, so then you expect it to be quite a long meeting.
Yeah, I would expect it's going to be longer. Yes. I'm not saying today.
So just to give everybody a heads up so they can plan accordingly and know that.
Absolutely.
And well, yes, bagels are
Yeah, bagels.
low carb bagels.
0. That would be great if you could get low carb bagels.
Oh, wait. That's terrible.
They wouldn't be called bagels. Okay. We also have, as non-action items on that agenda this next month is going to be the scope for the next long-range transportation plan, MTP, for 2050. Yes, we're talking 2050 now. Our state certification, Brian's going to present that, absolutely always beautiful. We're going to provide you an update on where we are with MTech in the 3 founding cities, and then the additional cities that are going to be joining into that agreement. And then report from Broward agencies. We're going to be talking about our perennial favorite, the Broward Commuter Rail System. And that is basically Tri-Rail Coastal Link. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, we're going to be having that discussion. I'm trying to work with FDOT, the county, and the city of Fort Lauderdale to be able to move forward with some type of selection without finding the exact crossing for the new river. So, we'll be able to move and have some discussion there. But as I've been advocating all along, we need to be speaking as one voice as a region. If we're going to go to Washington, D.C., they don't like when we say different things, and they will not fund us if we do not say this is what we want. So that is going to eventually go to the county commission for their endorsement, and it'll travel over here for us to approve. Once we approve, then they can go through they can enter into the federal process. But we're going to be having that presentation. So again, long meeting.
All right. How about financial reports?
Okay, all of that is going to be part and parcel of what you normally see. The quarterly position, net position, we're in good shape there. So you'll be able to see exactly where we are in spend. But we're actually, one of the things I'm going to be implementing over this year and then into the next 2 is us to get to a zero-based budget. So basically, here's the money and we're going to spend it, and that's it. The reason we're doing that is the state of Florida and all the MPOs are changing the way we do business. They're creating this thing called a consolidated planning grant. And typically our FTA money will flow multi-year beyond the 2-year horizon of a UPWP. But now the state of Florida wants to combine that with our PL funds, which can some roll over. Our SU funds cannot roll over. There's lots of different acronyms. And so they all want to put it into the one planning grant. And by doing that, none of that money can roll from 2-year period to 2-year period. So we're literally going to have to go to a zero-based budget. So what we say we're going to spend, we have to spend, and spending is going to be very important to follow. Okay. And that's basically next month's agenda.
Okay. How about administrative items? Not, that's next one?
Yep.
Just said that.
Yeah, we go back and then we go to review and discussion for future agendas. Basically, we're all on track for all of the agendas into this next year. There are going to be some meetings that are heavier, some meetings that are going to be lighter. Brian and I will be working together to make sure that if there is a light agenda meeting and we can move some items off, we might be able to cancel a meeting, maybe not. But for the most part, from now into the rest of the balance of 22, we're going to be sticking to the schedule where we'll be only off during summer. And then,
Hold on 1 second.
yes, sir.
Mr. Vice Chair.
So just regarding meetings, I know that we had changed our bylaws. Maybe that's what it was, or in regard to participation via Zoom, and that I recall, didn't we have a limitation about that? How many times you can do that? But it just feels like some members have never been here and they've only participated via Zoom. Has that occurred? Or has any member gone beyond the 3 or whatever the allocated amount was?
Madam Vice Chair, so in the law, the bylaws, it actually starts for calendar year. So
Okay.
when they were enacted at the end of the year, it was impossible to exceed that amount. And January is a workshop. So today is the first official meeting of the year. So nobody has exceeded it yet.
Okay, so I would just ask through the chair that just make that known to the membership so that they know that starting today that they have.
Counts as one.
Exactly. And,
You
that way
talking
we,
about the county commission?
no, sir.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, just to follow up, there's also a secondary limitation. We only allow 10 members to participate virtually at any time.
Further discussion? Yes.
Where are we on staff? I know that you had put out that we were looking to hire staff members. Where are we as far as that's concerned?
Actually, that's really great question. It's been a very competitive market for staffing. I mean, Broward County is looking for folks, FDOT is looking for folks, we're looking for folks. Miami-Dade TPO is looking for folks, my Palm Beach TPA is looking for folks. It's a very competitive market. And I think it's getting tighter. The job market is getting tighter. It's not loosening up. So, we're trying to hold on to the people that we have. And I can tell you that, actually one of our most recent hires went back to Denver because he was offered $20,000 more a year as an entry level position. So it's tough.
Cost of living up there is crazy.
Well, he can move in with his family.
Difference, but-
Yeah, he was moving in with his family.
Headhunter, or what's the process?
No, we advertised basically on most professional staff here. We advertise on AMPO, which is a professional organization, NARC, which is a professional organization, APA, professional organization. So we're focusing down on professional area because typically we require a master's degree or greater.
Okay. And so at what point are we going to be, we've been looking so hard and nothing's happening, that we would go through, say, a headhunter?
I'm going to say once we balance out where the budget comes in with the federal dollars next year, if we aren't successful, then we're going to start going through headhunters, and I'll bring that to your attention.
Okay.
Further question?
I felt I needed to do that when I heard that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the drama music. Thank you. You're being good.
Are you looking for a job?
No, just asking.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, we have, go to Ampro. All right, anything further for the board?
That's it, Mr. Chair.
All right, nothing further. We'll cease the executive board and wait for our regular meeting. Thank you all. We're adjourned.
Adjourning.
17 minutes, right? 9:12. Yep, you got
Thank you.